This was a flight on September 14th, and the predictions for altitudes much higher than normal for our area out here in Los Angeles. After launching, I noticed that Jim and Rob had found a nice thermal over trash, and I wanted to catch them and join them in that thermal. Here you can see Jim and Rob in that thermal out over Trash Mountain, and I'm on my way to head out there and try to join them in that, to try to catch them, and hopefully fly with them if they go anywhere today. I'm still on my way trying to get there. First I have to get to the thermal source, and then I'm going to have to find the core and try to climb up from the bottom. In this plot you can see that I did find the thermal and climbed up in it, and then that straight line on the top is me heading out on a glide. And this is me doing that in video, pulling on the VG, heading out for a glide for the Big T mountain, which is right beyond my helmet. Jim and Rob are up ahead. You can't see them in the video, but they're there. I can see them in flight, and I can talk to them on the radio. In this clip you can see Jim and Rob in a thermal over Little T, one above and one below my wing from this perspective. And I'm on my way to try to catch him in that thermal, or see what's there when I get there. As shown in this track, I don't find the Little T thermal, but I do find one over Middle T and climb in it. And this is me climbing in that Middle T thermal. So far the day has been fairly rough, but certainly not as lifty or high thermals as I had been expecting. In the very end of this clip, you can actually see Jim and Rob in the upper left corner of the screen, just above my wing. And I'm still trying to chase him. I'm still trying to catch up. You can see him there now. There's 1 and 2. In this clip I'm heading over to Lukens, and Jim and Rob are again in front of me. You can see over what I would kind of call the valley thermal. It's kind of halfway between Big T and Lukens, and still trying to catch them and still trying to find that big air that we were hoping for. In this track I glide into below the top of Lukens and try to find some lift. So in this clip, I am just about to Lukens, finding a lot of turbulence, very rough here, and mostly just trying to keep the glider flying straight as I continue to try to find some lift that I can actually use and climb up. And pretty bumpy out in front. Front range doesn't seem to be working great today, and I'm reluctantly going to head in towards the face itself, get in a little closer to the hill, and trying to find a thermal to get me up high and catch me up to Jim and Rob and give me some decisions on whether to go on further or start heading back for the day. And yeah, it's always when it's rough, it's always a little more nerve-wracking to be near the hill. In this track it can be seen that I didn't really get up at Lukens and just decided to head back to Big T, try to find a thermal and get up there. This is me looking for a thermal in front of Big T, and right there was what I call a wire slap. It's pretty rough right here, and I'm not above Big T yet, but the roughness indicates there's probably some lift around if I can find it and use it. And my goal really now is just to get high enough so I can make the jump back to our local mountains where our launch and our landing zone are. I end up getting pretty high behind Big T, but there's a lot of drift. And here you can see I'm trying to glide back from the backside of Kagel and Lance's to get out in front where there's good landing and where our landing zone is. And it looks like I'll make the glide no problem. And here you can see I've made the glide. I've got Kagels down right by my left arm. So I'll certainly be able to glide out in front. You can also see some gliders out around the reservoir as little dots trying to begin or continue their flights. And this is the point where the day turns pretty big for me. You can see in this plot I find a big thermal over Kagel to over 9,000 feet. And here I am over Kagel at about 9,000 feet. I'm going to make a turn. You'll notice the reservoir, the launch, and lots of little tiny dots, which are gliders that aren't in this thermal but flying over Kagel. In this clip, I'm back behind Big T. I've been over 10,000 feet, and I'm taking a sweep here of the LA basin. Out in front of me would be downtown LA. It's just hard to see with a wide-angle lens. There's the ocean out there Pacific Ocean, and now I'm looking kind of west. And up to my right is the desert to the north. And in front of me in the desert is Mount Gleason, one of the last big mountains before you'd get out to the desert and be able to go cross country. But I decided not to. The day is pretty much over. Most of the people who would go have already decided to go back to the Kagel landing zone. My video camera ran out of batteries at about 3 hours, but this is a track of the whole flight, basically coming back and landing at the club landing zone. And here is the barometric data for the flight. You can see it wasn't until halfway through the flight that I found my real high altitudes, which is not the right time to plan a nice voyage out of the area. So a good day overall.